Hello, everyone, and welcome. There's just something about this time of year. It just makes you want to get in the kitchen, grab whatever you have on hand, and bake something absolutely wonderful. It's that simple joy, right? Creating something warm and delicious when it's all chilly outside.
So today I have two fantastic recipes for you. They're two of my absolute favorite winter cookies. And the best part is, they're both made with simple ingredients you probably already have in your pantry. They are, without a doubt, the perfect companions for a cozy afternoon with a hot cup of tea or coffee. We're going to create two totally different but equally delicious experiences. On one hand, you've got a classic anise biscotti, perfectly crisp, golden, and just made for dipping. And on the other, a soft, tender cookie that tastes exactly like a warm bite of apple pie. So which one will you make first? Let's find out.
Okay, let's dive right into our first recipe, the classic anise biscotti. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Anise isn't really my thing, but I am urging you to try this. The flavor is so beautifully balanced, it creates this comforting classic cookie that is just, well, it's simply irresistible.
So, here's what you'll need. First up, 4 eggs. And here's a key tip from my kitchen. Always use them at room temperature. Cold eggs just don't mix as well, and room temp ones will give our biscotti a much lighter, more delicate texture. If you forget, no big deal. Just pop them in a bowl of warm water for a few minutes. Then you'll need 3/4 of a cup of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 3/4 of a cup of oil or melted butter. For our dry stuff, 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of those lovely whole anise seeds, and just a little pinch of salt.
All right, let's get mixing. In a big bowl, start by whipping your eggs. Then add in the sugar and vanilla. You're going to keep beating until that sugar has totally dissolved and the mixture has pretty much doubled in volume. It'll get pale and form these thick, beautiful ribbons when you lift the whisk. And hey, you don't need a fancy stand mixer for this. A hand mixer or even a blender works just fine. Once it's all light and airy, slowly stream in your oil or melted butter while mixing for about 30 more seconds.
Next up, add all your dry ingredients, so the flour, baking powder, and salt. Here's a little pro tip. Give them a quick stir with the mixer turned off first. It'll stop a giant cloud of flour from poofing up into your kitchen. Trust me on that one. Then, mix on the lowest speed just until everything comes together. You're looking for a really thick batter, kind of like a cake batter but without any milk. Finally, just fold in those anise seeds.
Now, what's really interesting about this batter is just how thick it is. It can be a little sticky to work with, so here's a fantastic little trick. Pour it into a rectangular baking pan and then lightly oil your hands. This is going to let you press and smooth the batter out perfectly evenly without it sticking to you. It makes a huge difference for an even bake. Time for the first bake. Pop it into a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius, that's about 350 Fahrenheit, for 25 to 30 minutes. You'll know it's ready when it's beautifully golden brown on top and your whole kitchen smells amazing. Let it cool in the pan for just 5 minutes. Seriously, set a timer. Then, turn it out and using a serrated knife, slice it into little fingers while it's still warm. This part is crucial. If you wait till it's cool, it'll just crumble.
Now for the second bake. This is where the magic really happens. This is what gives biscotti its name, which literally means twice cooked. So arrange all those slices on their side on a baking sheet. We're going to bake them again, but this time at a lower temperature, 160 Celsius or about 320 Fahrenheit for another 20 to 25 minutes. This is what transforms our soft little cake slices into that signature crunchy biscotti. They might feel a little soft when you take them out, but I promise they will crisp up perfectly as they cool down.
And there you have it. Perfectly golden, incredibly crispy, and oh so delicious. The only thing missing is a hot cup of tea for dipping. I love to make a big batch of these and just keep them in a sealed container. They stay fresh for at least a week, if they last that long.
All right, you ready for our second recipe? This one is just pure comfort food. I want you to imagine all the warm, cozy flavors of an apple pie, but packed into a small, tender cookie that just melts in your mouth. That combination of sweet apple and warm cinnamon, it is just divine. First things first, the filling. You'll need about 6 sweet apples. Something like a Gala or a Fuji works wonderfully here. Go ahead and peel and grate those. Then you'll need 6 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and, if you like a little extra crunch, about ½ a cup of chopped walnuts. Now the walnuts are totally optional, but I highly recommend them.
Okay, let's cook that filling. In a pan over medium heat, combine your grated apples and sugar. As they start to heat up, you'll see the apples release a lot of their water. Just keep stirring.
Pretty soon, all that water is going to evaporate, and the mixture will thicken up into this beautiful jam-like consistency. Once you hit that point, turn off the heat, stir in your cinnamon and walnuts, and just set it aside to cool down completely.
While that delicious filling is cooling, let's make our incredibly tender dough. You're going to need 1 cup of soft, unsalted butter, half a cup of oil, 1 egg, a tablespoon of plain yogurt, a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, 4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of vanilla, and a tablespoon of vinegar. I like to use apple cider vinegar here. And here's the best part, you can put your mixer away. No mixer required for this one.
Okay, here is a fantastic little kitchen hack for you. If your butter's cold and your kitchen is a bit chilly, just boil some water in a small pot, carefully pour the water out, and then place that warm, empty pot right over the bowl with your butter for a minute or 2. The gentle ambient heat softens it to the perfect consistency with actually melting it. It's a game changer.
Now, the most crucial part for this dough is this. Do not, I repeat, do not knead it. We want a tender, crumbly cookie, not a tough one. See, the more you work the dough, the more you develop the gluten in the flour. That's great for bread. It gives it that chew. But for a tender cookie like this, we want to keep that gluten development to an absolute minimum. That's our secret to that perfect, crumbly, melt-in-your-mouth texture. Just gently fold everything together until it all comes together.
All right, now for the fun part, shaping them. Divide your dough into a few pieces. Take 1 piece and roll it out into a circle. Then, using a knife or even a pizza cutter, slice that circle into 8 triangles, just like you're cutting a pizza. Place a spoonful of your cooled apple filling at the wide end of each triangle. Then simply roll it up towards the point. Place it on your baking sheet with the seam facing down so it doesn't unroll. Let's bake these little guys to perfection. They go into a 170°C oven, that's about 340 Fahrenheit, for 15 to 20 minutes. A really key tip here is to use bottom heat only if your oven has that setting. We want the bases to be nice and golden, but we don't want to brown the tops because that can cause them to crack. Once they're done, let them cool completely on the baking sheet before you even think about moving them. A final dusting of powdered sugar makes them absolutely perfect.
And there you go, 2 absolutely incredible winter cookie recipes. But before you run off to the kitchen, let's just go over a few final tips to guarantee your baking is a complete and total success.
So remember these key points. Always try to use room temperature ingredients for a smoother batter. For those biscotti, that second, lower temperature bake is absolutely essential to get that signature crunch. For the apple cookies, the golden rule is fold, never ever knead the dough. And for both recipes, patience is your best friend. Let them cool completely to get their perfect final texture. And hey, don't be afraid to make them your own.
So the only real question left is, what's it going to be? Will you go for the classic, crunchy anise biscotti or the soft, decadent apple pie cookie? Honestly, you can't go wrong. Whichever you choose, I hope you have a wonderful time baking. Enjoy!